our June meeting, the Farmville Board of Commissioners. We will have two meetings this month. The next one will be on the 28th of June. That'll be the last Monday, and that will be for the July meeting that we've had that way for many years. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. And Officer Katie Tetterton, we want to thank you for being here. We all send our condolences to you and your family in losing your grandma. My grandma raised me, and I'm sure that I know where you are. So thank you for taking time to be here tonight, and you'll be in our prayers. With that being said, I'm going to ask you to rise. We'll have the invocation by my friend Jeffrey Fields, and then Bert will follow with the invocation. Brother Jeffrey, please.
Let us all pray. Lord, we come before you this evening. We want to thank you for our great town. We want to thank you for the people who were chosen to lead this great town. We ask a blessing over the mayor, town manager, commissioner, and every town leader. Lord, we ask that you would guide their thought process. Let whatever decision they make be the decision that's in the best interest of this town and all of its citizens. That we might come together, that we might live together, that we might walk together, and that we might grow together, and that we might love one another in the way that you love us. And Lord, if you will do that for us, we will certainly give you the honor, the glory, and praise. And Father, right now we want to remember everyone who's lost a loved one recently. The ones who lost their young people in the tragic accident, the young lady who lost a grandmother. Lord, we know you're able to comfort them. And right now we ask that you would touch them, strengthen them, and comfort them like only you can. We thank you, and we count it done by faith. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brother Jeffrey, I'm going to ask you to come back to the podium if you don't mind. It's time for citizen presentations and citizen comments. And Brother Jeffrey did not sign up for this, but he has got a big bike ride in bicycle rodeo, and I'm going to ask him to take just a couple of minutes, if you would, and brief the gallery on how that event's going to transpire.
Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do want to let you all know what we have going on in the community and in our church. And I am the youth pastor at Salvation and Praise Full Gospel Church on Marlboro Road. And everything that I do is to bring young people together, to bring the community together, so that we might teach them, that we might celebrate them, so that they can grow into productive citizens in our community. On June the 19th, we will have bike awareness safety activity at the church, and we'll culminate that with a bike rodeo for the young people. But we will kick that off by starting here at the courthouse. My pastor, assistant pastor, myself, other pastors, ministers, community leaders, and anyone else who would like to join in. We're going to ride from here out to Salvation and Praise Full Gospel Church, and we're going to celebrate our young people. And hopefully they will learn something about bike safety, and we hope that the older people will learn something too, because I'm sure that we all can learn something as well. We don't all know everything that we should know, but this is to bring awareness to an ongoing problem of people riding bikes and have to worry about being safe on the streets and the highways, and this is a way to bring awareness to that, but to also bring the community together. So I'm hoping that as many of you who will come out and join us and participate in this event, we would certainly love to see your face.
Thank you, sir. That's June the 19th. Thank you very much.
June the 19th, we will meet here at the courthouse at 12:30.
Thank you, sir. And who knows more about bicycling than in the citizen presentation? Stephen Hardebrass. Stephen?
Nice to know that I'm not the only one that rides in town. There are dozens of us, so thank you all. I hope you do support this event. I unfortunately won't be here that day. I'll be participating and helping some colleagues with some civil rights bikes down in Atlanta on Juneteenth, since it's a growing national holiday. But I'm glad that Farmville will be well represented by Mr. Fields. I come to you tonight to speak to an issue that I'm concerned about in terms of sidewalks here. Back in January, I appreciate the town and the work that we've been working hard to work on ADA accessibility and ramps, especially around the town commons here. You saw some new installation here, making sure things are accessible for elderly people, people with strollers, wheelchair users, etc. But the contractor, TBI, poured sidewalks in several locations. Two of it, at least, did not include ADA accommodations and ramps with tactile indicators at the corners that you often see. This was communicated both to Wes Thomas and Justin Oakes as soon as I saw it, before the cement was even dry that day on January 16th. I know Mr. Thomas was talking about the contractor didn't do it up to par, didn't do it as we required, but here it is June, and they're still not following the federal law. This puts us all at risk for federal funding and whatnot. As I'm working on this steering committee for the comprehensive transportation plan, I want to make sure my own backyard is clean, that we're following the law here. So I'd like to suggest, if possible, I know you don't take comments or you don't do actually items for citizens' comments, but that we suspend payment to TBI contractors until they actually follow the law, so it doesn't put our town at risk, and they actually do the job that they were mandated to do, install those ramps. And if you needed some photographs, I can send them to you, but there's a copy of those two here.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
And that concludes the citizen comment. If you have an agenda, the last thing on our agenda is we give you an opportunity to ask a question about anything that you've heard here tonight. Any questions pertaining to the business of the town that's transacted during this period of time. That brings us down now to the town managers. Mr. Hodgkins.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Just a couple quick things. You may have noticed that our banners that this board approved several meetings ago started to go up, have come in, and they're starting to be put up on Main Street and Wilson Street today. They did not get to all of those today, but hopefully they'll finish that installation tomorrow. And from what I understand, the comments that the folks putting them up have received have all been very positive. So hopefully you'll get a chance to look at that if you haven't already seen those. A couple other things. There is a community health event that the board is aware of. I sent an email out a few weeks ago that's scheduled for this Saturday, June 12th. It's sponsored by Vidant Health and the town of Farmville. This Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It is supposed to be on the town common, but I got a message today from the folks at Vidant. They're concerned about the weather, and so they're looking at possibly moving that to the community center. Still Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're going to have COVID-19 education, testing, vaccination, educational information on hypertension, mental health issues, diabetes, organ donation, advanced directives, and living wills. They're going to have free refreshments and some food, and it's, of course, free to all attendees. So hopefully some of you will be able to come out for that. Again, that's sponsored by Vidant Health and the town of Farmville. We've got our Independence Day celebration. The tradition here is to have that on July 3rd this year. It's Saturday, July 3rd. Events on the town common from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. We've got live music by P&J Saxophone Ensemble, who's very good. I've heard a little bit of their music. The Tar River Band is not active at this time since COVID. They're not getting together, not practicing, so they were not able to come this year, but hopefully they'll be able to come in future years. Fireworks at nightfall, ice cream by Jones Fruit Farm, who's been with us for many years. There's also food that will be available there too as well, so I hope everybody can come out for that. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that we got word that Electricities, they have a count. You may be aware, each of you should have gotten a calendar in the past from Electricities. They feature different towns and different activities in member cities. This year, Farmville will be featured in the 2022 Public Power Communities calendar. We don't know which month yet, but it's in production now. This year's theme is Great Things Are Brewing in Public Power, so the town of Farmville and Duck Rabbit Craft Brewery will be spotlighted, and the calendars will be available in late 2021. So just wanted to let you know that we will be one of the 12 public power communities in the state that are featured, and I believe there's 50, 60 some odd towns that they could have picked, so we're pleased to have that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, town manager? Jamin, do you have any questions? Commissioner Dixon is not with us tonight. He is joining us by phone. That brings us down to the financial report. You have it. You've had an opportunity to review it. Are there any questions of Amy at this time concerning the financial report? Commissioner Dixon, do you have any? Seeing none, that brings us down to item G, changes, additions, deletions to the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, or is there a motion to accept it as it is presented here tonight?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented tonight.
Commissioner Hobbs has made a motion that we accept the agenda as it has been presented. Is there any discussion? Jamin, how say you? Aye. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. That brings us down to special presentation. Town Manager David
Mayor.
Hodgkins, the room is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Very pleased to have a special presentation. It was deliberately not listed on your agenda to maintain a surprise. Some of you have talked to already, so you won't be surprised, but others will be. I want to read a little synopsis of an incident that happened several months ago. Bear with me, I need to read it to explain the whole situation. On April 21st, 2021, at about 2:30 p.m., officers of the Farmville Police Department were dispatched to a residential address in Farmville for a report of a male threatening to harm himself with a firearm. The residence was in a populated area of town with neighbors on all sides of the residence. Officers also learned that there were other individuals inside the residence. Officer Jason Spencer arrived first on the scene and encountered a male with a firearm sitting on the rear porch of the residence. Major Jeffrey Spencer was the second on the scene of the incident, and both officers attempted to communicate with the subject sitting on the porch. Officer Jason Spencer was able to talk to the subject on the back porch while staying at a safe distance and with cover. The subject could be seen with his finger on the trigger of the weapon while Officer Jason Spencer was trying to speak with him. While this was going on, Major Jeffrey Spencer was able to get bystanders out of the residence and into a safe location. Communication was very difficult through the incident due to heavy winds that day. Officer Jason Spencer continued to speak with the subject the best he could by yelling to the subject. After the family was safe, Major Jeffrey Spencer was able to get a phone number for the subject. Major Spencer tried to call the subject multiple times before he answered, and as they talked, the subject would end communication for a time and then reestablish it. During this time, Major Jeffrey Spencer was able to talk to the subject and convince him to put the weapon down. After the weapon was down, Major Jeffrey Spencer continued speaking with the subject, and the subject surrendered to officers without incident. Major Jeffrey Spencer and Officer Jason Spencer both exhibited a calm demeanor that helped diffuse a tense situation that could have ended very tragically. The subject was very distraught and could have done harm to himself, innocent bystanders, and the responding officers had it not been for the skilled way the matter was handled by Major Spencer and Officer Spencer. A special commendation for these two individuals and a life-saving award is entirely in order, and I'd like to recommend that this board present commendations to these individuals. I think they're both here, and also there is a life-saving pin that is also awarded and pinned to the uniform of these individuals. So if the board will entertain that, we can bring up these individuals. I'd like to bring up.
Do we need a motion? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I guess that'd be fine.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we present these awards.
There's a motion for the first time in the history of Farmville. I think that this has ever been done to award these ribbons and accommodations to two of our officers. The motion was made by Commissioner Elks. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Dixon, your vote. Aye. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Officer Spencer and Officer Spencer, please come to the podium.
Just stay right there.
And right now,
Oh, okay.
there will be a few minutes after this to have some pictures made if y'all will bear with us. Dolores, anytime you feel like you want to come up here and stand with your boys, you come on.
Well, you can come out here for whatever you want to do.
Dave?
She's the pretty one.
Dave?
Don't go anywhere.
Start with Jason Neal Spencer, previous commendation. Town of Farmville, along with the Farmville Police Department, hereby presents this certificate to you in recognition of your commitment to the community you serve by going above and beyond your events that occurred on April 21st, 2021. Given the 7th day of June 2021. I'd like to present you with this commendation. Congratulations. Thank you. Jeffrey Spencer, soon to be Chief Spencer, Town of Farmville, along with the Farmville Police Department, hereby presents a certificate to you in recognition of your commitment to the community you serve, and going above and beyond your events that occurred on April 21st, 2021. Given the 7th day of June 2021, it's not my time. Thank you.
Please be seated. You stay there. That's probably the only time I ever get to say that. You can't get away. At this time, I'm going to ask Amy Johnson to come forth. Amy is going to swear you in as our brand new Chief of Police.
Stand for a moment for this position. I look forward to serving as I am. Thank you, Mr. Hopkins, for this believing in me. Trusting me to do the job as mayor and every commissioner here.
Thank you. If it's agreeable with the board, could we just take like a 2-minute, rather than a recess, just a 2-minute pause here for the necessary pictures? Can we do that? And just let the Spencer family have a moment to have some pictures made, and is that okay with y'all?
Yeah.
All right. Where you at, Woody?
Close all, folks.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We're going to step out. Step out, clear the line.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Hello there.
Cleans the place out.
Really does. That's the first accommodation that I remember in the history of Farmville, though. I may be wrong, but it won't be the first time I've been.
It's amazing.
Let us continue now. This is quite an exciting time for Farmville tonight. Exciting time. That brings us down to item J for the public hearing. And what we will do is I will turn this public hearing over to the town manager and for his opening words, and then we will open this up for public hearing for anyone that wants to speak, and that'll come up after that. Town Manager David Hodgkins, at this point, I will turn item J for public discussion and public hearing for the 2021-22 budget. And before I do that, I want to thank you and your staff for the incredible job you've done, for the hours you put in, and how you have been good stewards of this money. And I challenge this board to let us execute this budget with extreme caution moving forward, because you've done an outstanding job. With that being said, this public hearing is now to begin with Town Manager David Hodgkins. David?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, I'm not going to go through the full-blown presentation I did last meeting, but just want to let you know that just a few highlights. Tax rate is totally unchanged from previous years. Water rate has a slight increase due to a increase from Greenville Utilities Commission on the town of Farmville. Sewer rates are unchanged, electric rates are unchanged, solid waste has a slight increase because of a consumer price index adjustment from GFL Environmental, our contractor. No other fee changes. We are in a mode of catching up some from last year. We didn't have, if you recall, we had very little discretionary spending, capital spending last year in last year's budget because of the uncertainty surrounding COVID. I'm pleased to say that Farmville came out much better than many communities in that we were able to collect a lot of our revenues that we weren't sure about going into this year's budget. So we were in a position to go back and do a little catch up on some items. So that's why you saw a little bit more this year than we had last year, because we had more certainty in our revenue stream. We are able to provide some additional funding for employees this year, which I'm sure they very much appreciate. And all that being done, we opened a new library. We've got a fire department in planning stages. As I said, we've had some catch up on some capital expenditures. All that being said, the budget is only 0.3% more than the current budget we have for this current year. So all in all, I think a good effort. The budget ordinance is in your packet. Reflects all the changes that were made at your budget workshop on May 20th. And we were able to address the items. As you recall, there was an item in the fire department, some matching grant funds. There's also a part-time some money for part-time expenditure part-time employee in the library, a few other minor things here and there. But basically, the budget is reflects all of your changes that you made on the 20th. Also, there were some adjustments to the outside agency funding too. So with that being said, be glad to answer any questions.
Anybody having any questions? I'll start with Commissioner Dixon. Commissioner Dixon, you have any questions? Commissioner Dixon has no questions. I'll open it to the board. Anybody on the board have a question for the town manager? Seeing no questions, I now declare this public hearing open. Anyone that would like to speak, we have one person. Stephen Hardybrass would like to speak. Stephen, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, once again. Thank you also for all the work you do on this budget. I know it's complex, and it's challenging times when we're not sure with property tax, with COVID, with everything else going on. But I'd like to thank you first for your progress that we have made in making sure things are accessible to all of our citizens here in our town. During the COVID pandemic, we know that lots more people have been out walking, biking, running, etc. We have to stay in place. We can't travel. People have been really focusing more on their homes and their towns. And I think that reflects on a lot of the work that you guys have done, as well as Public Works and everyone here in town. It also reflects things nationwide. I think we have to realize, though, that we still have some work to do. In 1990, then President Bush signed the civil rights law called the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that required, as of January 26, 1991, any sidewalk or any time you repaved or altered a road, you had to make sure the sidewalk was accessible. This is a civil rights law enforced by the Department of Justice. And I've become more aware of these issues as I served on this county-wide comprehensive transportation plan. We had to remind NCDOT that on their roads, which is actually like 96% of the roads in our state, they have something like nearly 100,000 self-identified violations of the civil rights law. We've had to remind them as they've repaved roads in Greenville and throughout Pitt County, including here in Farmville, that they were required to install handicap ramps. And as you may have seen along May Boulevard, along West Wilson Street, they've gone back and done so because they've reminded about the civil rights of people with disabilities. However, roads that our town maintained are our responsibilities. And I know you're inheriting this issue from previous administration, but when we had a major water line repair and we repaved many streets, there are dozens and dozens of violations that we did not fix then. I wasn't as aware and astute of the law and the requirements then, so I'd like to bring it to your attention that I think our budget does not reflect upon the inventory we need to do these. So even today on a short little walk, I can email you these. I found like 3 or 4 dozen violations all over town of sidewalk ramps that where either we've repaired them or the roads have been repaved, with south side, north side, east side, west side, all over. And this prevents people from using strollers, wheelchairs, walking, getting around. These are the existing sidewalks that we have neglected to make sure they're accessible to people with disabilities and have not recognized their civil rights. So I'd like to suggest that we look at the budget and we do that inventory that's long overdue, 30 years overdue here. And I have the letters from the Department of Justice and Department of Transportation. I'm not trying to play hardball. I'm just saying I've become aware of it. I'd like to share that awareness with you. I will help. If it helps, I will walk around town with people and we can document all and help out with the inventory. But I'd like to think that we need a bigger budget for Public Works and others to work on this so that we can continue recognizing the civil rights of people with disabilities.
Thank you, sir. This may be a question for our town attorney. I only had one person to sign up in the public hearing. Does that mean I can't open it to anyone else? I've only had one person sign up, so does that conclude that?
I didn't realize we had sign-ups for it.
I didn't realize it until the night, so I would like to...
It would be very appropriate to allow anyone who wants to comment.
I thank you because I thank you for that, Chris. I feel the same way. Is there anyone here that would like to address anything that's in the budget? Anyone here address anything in the budget? Anyone? Seeing none, I now declare this public hearing closed. At this time, board, I will open the board up for questions, comments, and/or motion. Commissioner Dixon, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
No question.
Is there a motion that we accept the budget for the 21-22 year.
I will make such a motion.
Commissioner Smith has made the motion that we accept the budget ordinance as presented tonight for the fiscal year 2021-2022. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Dixon? Sorry, I missed. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Town Manager, we have accepted the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And again, I thank you for your hard work. That brings us down to item K, items for consent. Board, you've had an opportunity to review this and study this. Is there a motion or questions, comments concerning the items of consent? Is there a motion that we accept?
Motion that we accept the items for consent.
Commissioner Elks has made a motion that we accept the items of consent. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Dixon, your vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. That brings us down to item L, item for discussion, renewal of the wastewater treatment plant management and maintenance contract. Town Manager, you've got this, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Many of you know, or most of you know, I'm sure, that the wastewater treatment plant that's owned by the town of Farmville is, as I said, owned by the town, but is operated under contract by a company that has had several names through its long association with the town. Suez Water Environmental Services, Inc. is its current name. I think it was called United Water at one time and just plain Suez another time. They have a 27-year history with the town. The town at one point had managed its own plant, had town employees out there. Due to economies of scale and low flow at the time, the town found it advantageous to contract with an outside company for management. And this company did take over operation at our direction. They still work very closely with our utility staff and consult with us regularly, almost on a daily basis. And they actually also hired several of our former employees. So not only did the company take over our management, but they also hired people that were experienced at that very plant, and they became Suez employees. So some of you know people like James Shoulders, who's a Farmville native and all. And so he runs our plant. As I said, these folks are an extension of our staff, even though they're not paid directly by the town of Farmville. Their current contract expires the end of July, and it goes on a 5-year cycle, so we're up for another renewal. Some of you aren't aware of this because you weren't here on the board 5 years ago, but 5 years ago when the contract came up for renewal, the board wanted to consider other options, look at some other companies, sort of compare prices and proposals. So we got other proposals from companies, some very good companies, but when it was all said and done, Suez provided the best price, best service level and all. So and they continue to do that. The current contract is basically identical to the last contract, except the price is actually lower. They're holding all of their chemical prices and those costs like that. They've also lowered the cost, the annual cost, by $6,087 annually for over the each year for 5 years, and that's due to a change in our chlorination method. We went to a much safer method of disinfection out there. And also the town has a history of working with the company that is now the supplier. So we can get better prices from this company. They're supplying us with a free tank, storage tank, things like that. And so in consultation with the town utility staff, management, we agreed to take on that responsibility in exchange for a discount on this contract. So Suez is proposing basically a flat contract, no price increase, and in fact, the price decreased to reflect our supplying some of the chemicals. So we're very happy with the arrangement we have with them. They're very helpful regulatory. They talk EPA and other regulatory language. They help us anytime there's any sort of change in regulatory standards from EPA and DENR and other organizations. They're right on top of it. They've come here, they meet with us, they help us, and they advocate for us. So they provide us with a really good service. I would wholeheartedly recommend that we extend this contract by another 5 years.
Thank you, David. Commissioner Dixon, do you have any questions? Board, anybody of the board have a question of town manager?
Is this by chance a contract that our town attorney's read, or?
I will not represent, I've read every word of it, but I've skimmed over it, yes. I know it's consistent with what we've had in the past.
Okay. No more questions then.
Anybody else have a question?
Thank you.
Anybody? Is there a motion that we accept a renewal of the water waste treatment plant management and management contract? Is there a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we accept the renewal contract.
Commissioner Hobbs has made the motion that we accept the contract. Any discussion? Seeing none. Commissioner Dixon, your vote. Aye. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We have a new contract. James, thank you for all you do for this town. Good job. Thank you so much. That brings us down to citizen comments, and this is designed to ask questions about anything that you have heard here tonight that you may need qualifying or additional information about. Is there anyone that you don't have to sign up for this? Just come down and you get 3 minutes. Anybody that would like to make a comment about anything that's happened here tonight? Anybody? Seeing none, I'll go to my left. That's right, that left, and start with Jamie Dixon for closing comments. Commissioner Dixon, closing comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Elks.
First, I would like to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's nice to be back on a level playing ground again and not be sitting so far back there. Tonight was a great night with recognition of Chief Spencer and Officer Spencer for the life-saving award that they received, as well as the swearing in of Chief Spencer. As Mr. Field said, our town took a hit with the loss of the young people from our community, as well as Tarboro, and that horrific wreck on Thursday, which has affected a lot of people. And so I hope that we will all continue to keep their families and friends in prayer. And I also I had something else that I wanted to say, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
Commissioner Shack.
I think we've done a great job here on tonight, and we're glad to see everybody that was able to come out and be a part of this tonight, especially for for our police department, all the great things that they do, and for all the town employees.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Miller.
No, it's great to see the excitement from our boys in blue. That was very good. I thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank you for all the upcoming events. I hope our town will be out with you riding bicycles, Brother Jeffrey, and also we've got the Independence Day celebration coming up, and that'll be really exciting with our new banners out. Thank all the employees for the work, and thank you, David and Amy, for all your hard work on the budget.
Dr. Hobbs?
Yes, I have two items I would like to mention. First, I would like to say thank you to the town of Farmville for all the work that Public Works did to prepare us for a community event last Saturday. And for those of you who have not seen the HB Sugg Park, I invite you to go by there after 9 o'clock because the lights are in and it is beautiful. It is becoming one of the attractions in Farmville when people drive by there at night. Everybody wants to know what happened, when did this happen? Because they didn't see it before the lights were there. So I want to thank Public Works, especially Wes Thomas and all your staff. They did a marvelous job. We had this event on the day that everybody was threatening with this terrible storm. and we had to cut down branches just to put up a tent. And you know what? We went through the whole program with no rain. But 1 minute after the program ended, everybody was running to their cars. So I want to thank you for that. And the other thing is, and it's been mentioned by Bert Smith, I had not heard that terminology, the Blue Boys.
Boys in blue.
The
yeah.
Boys in Blue. I like that terminology. With so much heightened attention about the Boys in Blue, I want to commend our police department for de-escalating a very critical situation that could have been dire. So I just think Farmville is doing a great job, and I hope all of you have a great rest of June and 4th of July. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hobbs. First of all, congratulations to a new chief, and I know that this board will be very supportive of that. The 2022 committee is moving along. Several folks that are working on that committee are in here tonight, and our 150th anniversary celebration is really doing a great job. Thank you for the banners. The rain came, and I was sharing with Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner Smith this morning about how well our town drained. We did a good job, and we got a lot of water coming from other places, so we did it. I was called, and before I could get across town, it had dropped 2 feet, so that was a good thing. Another thing, this morning I get up and I had to do something really early, and it was the sun had just gotten up good, and the crew was at the splash pad this morning, so they're working diligently to get that ready for us to go in July. The town looks great. As a retired military guy, the number of comments that I received about how well the monument looked, and I want to publicly thank David Gay for what he did by having a wreath placed there, and which meant a lot to the veterans that have served and the names that are on that monument out there. The bike ride on June the 19th, that is a big thing. Our friends and Brother Jeffrey and the folks at the Salvation Praise, they're putting a lot into this, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope it becomes an annual thing, and that just adds a reason for us to pay close attention, not only to the bike riders, but the things that we need to be doing for our sidewalks in town to make sure that it works. And I know that Wes and David are on top of that and working with the state and the county. So I thank you for that. It took 30 years to get messed up. We'll get it fixed. And I'm sure we'll move right along with that. Can't say enough about the budget. The budget was moving into that with COVID and everything, and the amount of hours that was put in there, and coming out of that budget the way we did. And as Commissioner Shackelford said, you've given us one more year, and we thank you for that. Remind you that the next meeting will be June the 28th. That will be our July meeting. We're looking forward to that. The festivities on July the 3rd, and I want to thank Donna and the Standard for the things you're doing for the town of Farmville. You've always been a part of this, but the Standards seem to have kicked their game up a little bit. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but I thank you for what you're doing to put Farmville and the rest of our communities for people to really read that paper, and I thank you for that. And I want to thank everybody in this room, because you're helping. When Dr. Hobbs and I first talked about the word, 2 words, we talked about it, and we got excited about it, and now I'm hearing it in everyday language. The things that were discussed here tonight with the chief, with everything, one Farmville, and that means an awful lot. And as we move forward with one Farmville, I thank you for that. With that being said, is there a motion we adjourn?
I'll make such a motion.
Commissioner Smith has made a motion that we adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Let's go home.
Donna.